Diesel, welcome to the Melbourne Guitar Show.
Thanks for having me.
You've been playing your Americana tour this year.
Yeah, that's almost like a year now of touring that, so it's kind of winding that down and about to do another tour for kind of a celebration, I guess, or of Fidelity, which came out 25 years ago. So
yeah. So what guitars have you been using on this tour?
Well, I'm about to start it, and I'm actually just figuring out which ones. So it's kind of like the sort of part of the tour is like, okay, which guitars do I need? And it comes down to, I guess, logistics to a large degree, because as much as I'd like to have like very specific ones for every song, it kind of, it's hard for the guitar tech to be able to tune them all and everything. It's just not practical, so I try to keep it to about 6 or 7. They're all very, very different, and it's kind of nice to have ones that live in specific tunings as well, because they're just a lot happier in the environment of a gig where it can be hot, cold, or whatever, and kind of going up and down with tunings in the middle of a gig I've never found to be a very good thing. So I have a guitar that just like lives in that tuning, and that one lives in that tuning, and just makes it a lot easier for everybody.
You just finished a clinic for Vox. You've been using Vox for quite some time.
I have. My relationship with Vox goes back to the point where I really was completely naive about gear, and I think just from looking at record covers and watching TV, seeing the odd live gig, and I'm talking like when I was like 11 or 12, and my brother actually bought a vintage Vox amp. It would have been probably 20 years old at that point, and he went on tour in Europe, and so left it with me, and that and a really nice Fender Precision bass, because he was using it for bass. So I instantly started playing a lot of bass, and I still do play a lot of bass. So then I finally got a guitar, and I had the amp already, and it was this amazing Vox AC50 head and cabinet, and I didn't know anything, about what was what. So I actually went up to the local music shop and tried to ask the guy if he wanted to swap it for like a Roland JC120, which are great amps for that sort of thing, but pretty much like only for doing like a really good clean sound. But I just, because it had like built-in chorus and reverb or something and stereo, I thought, wow, that's cool. And the guy was like, no, I don't want to do that swap. I'm like, go away. Thank God he didn't, because I would have been swapping him a vintage Vox amp, and would have. Maybe he was doing me a favor, and maybe it was just like someone less trusting would have been like, yeah, sure. And so I kind of in later years, I kind of got to know, it was like, wow, this is a cool amp, this is vintage Vox. But I didn't know. I was trying to figure out what was what, and I played like on the neck pickup most of the time because I didn't know any better. And I remember like one night in rehearsals, I was probably about 15, and everyone else in the band was about 25, and the singer came over and just like flipped the pickup selector on my guitar to the back pickup, and was like, oh, okay. I had to change the tone of my amp to sort of suit that sound, but it was like, right. All those sounds I'm hearing on record, it's that pickup. I mean, you just learn. My hands were doing good things because I played cello since I was 8 years old, but the actual mechanics of electric guitar, I was still figuring it out. So, the back pickup just sounded too like abrasive, and I didn't want to draw too much attention to myself, so I played on the neck pickup. But at that point, I remember just having this feeling of like, this whole feeling came over me, like I probably blushed, and I just suddenly felt like I don't know anything. Like I really don't know anything. Like the singers just come over and like change the selector on me. It's like, But and then I started recognizing someone, actually a guy that used to come to the shows. He was just a really nice guy, and played a bit of guitar and was a big fan of music, and he saw me up there and said, I've got this Strat which I bought in America, and I don't use it much, and do you want to have a go on it? And I was like, yeah, okay. And it wasn't like instant love. At first I plugged into it and I thought, this is, it sounds like an ice pick to the head, but I figured out how to kind of wrangle it in. And then I started listening, a lot more intently to things like Hendrix and Ian Moss, you know, cultures, and I could hear the Strat that they were playing, and I could hear the sounds, and it was like, oh, okay, that's how they did it.
Yeah.
And in between there and that position there, and you know, Mark Knopfler, of course, you know, the out of phase
Sure.
kind of position 4 or whatever it is. So yeah, the Strat was kind of like was my first kind of journey into like recognizing different sounds that you can pull from one guitar, and then of course, you know, other things happened after that, like the sound of humbuckers and, you know, P90s and things like that. And yeah, you just get to recognize, and then, you know, you can hear it, listen to records, and it's always been a bit of an amusement for me to kind of try to figure out what guitar it is. You know, I wouldn't say I'm like foolproof, but I pretty much can recognize, you know, like, especially on that classic rock albums, like the Eagles, for instance, you know, oh, that's a Les Paul, that's a Telly, that's a Strat. You can just hear it.
Yeah.
They've got such recognizable, and they're not putting an awful lot of stuff in between it, so it's maybe just like one little MXR distortion pedal and then Fender amp or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to hear.
Yeah.
Because even though Strats and Tellys are, you know, Fenders, and you know, you can kind of like, they can cross over, but they just still have this distinct, and it's a lot to do with just, you know, that metal bridge assembly that the Telly has, and the cavity that the Strat has, this tremolo system, all those things, you know, really affect the sound. Basically, it's just 2 bits of wood with a similar shaped headstock, but all those little things, those little factors make it different. You know? And the Telly, for me, is just, you know, instant Steve Cropper, you know, that sound, Keith Richards, you know, that especially in the middle position, that's worth them. That's what I'd even bother playing a Telly, is that middle position.
Yeah.
Love it.
Man, you're a busy man. You've got to be other places. Thanks for your time. And
No worries.
Thanks for coming down to the Melbourne Guitar Show.
Waxing lyrical on guitar, so thank you.
Thanks, man.
No worries.